What's up, my guys and geeks? Welcome to this second part of What If Voldemort Gave Bellatrix the Diary. If you haven't seen the first part of this series, be sure to click somewhere up here for the full video. But just to recap, Voldemort decided to give Bellatrix instead of Lucius Malfoy the Diary Horcrux. And so, when Harry's second year rolls around, Malfoy is forced to place Gilderoy Lockhart under the Imperius Curse in an effort to undermine Arthur Weasley's authority at the Ministry. And so, an Imperius Lockhart begins carrying out attacks against students at Hogwarts in an effort to frame Fred and George as dangerous pranksters who are hurting their fellow students. But Harry, Ron, and Hermione catch on and manage to trap and defeat Lockhart, who has the Imperius Curse removed from him in the nick of time, leaving no trace of what happened and understandably confused and upset Lockhart, and no one, especially Dumbledore, with any idea that Voldemort has Horcruxes. This second part picks up after Harry's second year of Hogwarts, during the summer, where the Weasley family still manages to win the Galleon prize drawing from the Daily Prophet, but this time they decided not to go and visit Bill in Egypt. Now, part of this is because of the traumatic events of the previous year, but also because Lockhart has been loudly proclaiming that he did not have anything to do with the attacks at Hogwarts. And since he can't remember anything from when he was Imperius, he points fingers at the 3 children who attacked him, painting them as the perpetrators of these dangerous acts. And so Rita Skeeter and the Daily Prophet begin a slander campaign against Harry, Ron, and Hermione.
I'm Rita Skeeter.
Now, Harry gets the majority of the blame since rumors start circulating that Voldemort must have left some dark powers with Harry as a baby, and perhaps he's a dark wizard, and that's the reason why he was carrying out these attacks. But Ron and Hermione also received their fair share of criticism. So yeah, between that and between the occasional person who still suspects Fred and George of being behind everything, the Weasleys definitely decide to just stay at home and not go on any extravagant trip. Now, while the Weasleys don't go to Egypt and don't get their photograph in the paper that way, photos of Harry, Ron, and Hermione are still published as part of this slander campaign. And so, a photo of Ron holding Scabbers finds its way to Sirius Black in Azkaban, where he sees this photograph and decides to break out and go after Peter Pettigrew.
Wait! I did my waiting!
Now, for the most part, Harry remains blissfully unaware of this criticism during his beginning time at Privet Drive, since he's isolated from the wizarding world, and his friends don't want to depress him by mentioning this in their letters. But when Marge comes to town and Harry blows her up, he is, as per usual, pardoned by the minister and forced to stay at the Leaky Cauldron, where he finally begins to understand just how much stigma there is against him and what Lockhart has been saying about him. Now, Harry decides to stay much more isolated and stay in his room at the Leaky Cauldron during the summer, but when he and his friends arrive at Hogwarts, rumors start circulating that maybe Sirius Black has broken out to join Harry Potter, the next great dark wizard, and Harry feels a lot of tension and hatred coming from the students all around him. Now, as per usual, Harry is denied the ability to go into Hogsmeade and is adversely affected by the Dementors who are still circling Hogwarts.
Potter! Is it true you fainted?
Leading to him feeling even more isolated from everybody except his closest friends. But he's helped out by the teaching of Professor Remus Lupin, who helps Harry learn the Patronus charm and also helps him feel like not everybody is against him. Now, the events of Harry's third year actually play out mostly the same, with Harry learning that Sirius is believed to have betrayed his parents and deciding to hunt him down, culminating in the events at the Shrieking Shack, where Peter still manages to escape and go off to rejoin Voldemort.
What would you have done? I would have died! I would have died rather than betray my friends!
Now, the big change is that this time when Minister for Magic Cornelius Fudge arrives and finds that Sirius Black escapes, he is much more suspicious of Harry Potter. We all know Fudge has a nasty habit of listening to rumors, and by this point he'd have been hearing for months that Harry Potter was a dark wizard. So when his supposedly still guilty prisoner Sirius escapes, Fudge leaves with no proof against Harry, but just that much more reason not to trust the boy. But things really pick up following Harry's third year at Hogwarts. He almost immediately goes to stay with the Weasleys for the summer. He returns to Privet Drive briefly to get permission from a reluctant but much more relaxed Vernon Dursley, who decides to let Harry go and stay with the Weasleys so that he and his family can enjoy their vacation house in Majorca without having to worry about Harry messing things up.
Justice.
So Harry goes and stays with the Weasleys and manages to have a pretty good time, but spirits are still somewhat dampened when they depart for the Quidditch World Cup. The Weasleys still manage to secure tickets to the World Cup, but this time, because of the stigma against Harry, Ron, and Hermione, Ludo Bagman is only willing to procure them stand seats, instead of seats in the top box. Now, he still owes the same debt to Arthur Weasley, but just because everybody is so much more suspicious of the trio, he's only willing to give them these lesser quality seats. And this is very significant because usually while in the top box, Harry loses his wand, a wand that Barty Crouch Jr. then picks up and uses to cast the Dark Mark later that day.
More murder!
So this time when the Death Eaters attack after the Quidditch World Cup, Barty Crouch Jr. is able to break free and escape, but this time, since he has no wand to scare away the Death Eaters, he simply runs away, resolving to get back at these pretending Death Eaters another day. But since they're not scared away by the Dark Mark being cast in the sky, the Death Eaters grow much more out of control in a rampage that ends in a battle that results in Crabbe and Goyle Sr. being arrested, but not without its costs. The battle between the Death Eaters results in the death of Barty Crouch Sr. before they escape. Now, Percy is promoted as Barty Crouch Sr.'s temporary replacement in the Triwizard Tournament as a judge, mostly because the Ministry wants to kind of get Percy out of the way and still be able to run things while making him feel important. But so the trio goes to Hogwarts and are informed about the Triwizard Tournament, which is still happening, and the candidates from Beauxbatons and Durmstrang arrive. And Harry thinks to himself that while he hates what happened at the Quidditch World Cup, at least it seems to be taking attention away from the rumors about him. And he even begins to think that since he's not planning to join the Triwizard Tournament, he may actually get to enjoy a normal year at school. But we all know that, as per usual, when the names are selected, Harry Potter's name flies out as the fourth Triwizard champion.
Harry Potter!
This causes an outrage amongst the students at the school, and immediately begins rumors flying that Harry surely must have used dark magic to get his name in the Goblet of Fire. Now, Percy Weasley, for one, is outraged at this obvious flouting of the rules, but ultimately is forced to admit that because of his dedication to the rules, and since this constitutes a binding magical contract, he must allow Harry to compete. And so Harry is made a Triwizard champion. But this time, him and Ron are a lot closer because they've both been experiencing this hatred from everyone around them for the past several years. And Ron also is a lot less jealous of Harry in this situation, since Harry has been receiving a lot less positive praise and a lot more negative attention. So they don't end up arguing and falling out as friends, meaning that when Harry talks to Sirius in the fireplace in the Gryffindor common room, Ron is right by his side and does not come down the stairs, disturbing the conversation. This means that not only is Sirius able to tell Harry that Karkaroff was a Death Eater and all of these other things, but he's also able to recommend that Harry use the conjunctivitis curse in the first task against the dragon. Now, this is the same curse that Crumb usually uses in the main story, and Harry is able to learn it and successfully use it. But just like with Crumb, this ends up causing the dragon to accidentally crush some of the real eggs. And the Triwizard judges, especially the rule-following Percy Weasley, dock Harry a few points because of this, leading to him no longer being as high up in the standings as he usually is in the main story. This also leads to Rita Skeeter writing a scathing article about the dangerous and rebellious Harry Potter, who seems to cause trouble wherever he goes, and has a habit for flouting the traditional rules.
Everyone loves a rebel.
But the Yule Ball is coming up, and as per usual, Harry needs a date. Now, Fleur Delacour, who we all know has a bit of a thing for bad boys since she's immediately attracted to Bill Weasley with the dragon fang earring, decides to take it upon herself after reading Rita Skeeter's article in the Daily Prophet and ask Harry to the Yule Ball. He is certainly one of the most notorious students at Hogwarts, even if not the most popular. And of course, Harry says yes, and they go to the Yule Ball together. And for a brief time, they're able to enjoy themselves, and Harry is able to forget about his troubles. But after the Yule Ball, he has little opportunity to interact with Fleur anymore.
Why do they have to travel in?
Now the second task is coming upon them, and Harry has to figure out how to beat the challenge. Now Cedric still gives him the same hint about listening to the egg and going into the prefect bath.
Mull things over in the hot water.
But since it's so vague, Moody decides to take it upon himself and act more directly, telling Harry directly that he needs to listen to the egg underwater. And Moody frames this as just him showing support for Harry since so many people have pivoted against him. Now, Harry listens to the egg underwater as per usual, and with the help of Moaning Myrtle is able to figure out that he's going to have to go into the lake and find something of a treasured belonging. But like usual, there's apparently absolutely zero information in any of the Hogwarts books about how to breathe underwater. Seriously, you'd think that at least Hermione would have heard of the bubblehead charm or gillyweed, but apparently not.
I read about it in Hogwarts, a history.
And so, Harry wakes up the day of the trial barely in time and has no idea how to breathe underwater. Now, since Dobby never came to warn Harry during the events of his second year, Dobby is not a free elf yet, and thus is not working at Hogwarts and can't deliver Harry the gillyweed. So this time, Mad-Eye Moody gives a slight hint to Ludo Bagman, who we know eagerly wants Harry to win because he's made a bet with the goblins, and so Ludo manages to find a way to secretly get Harry some gillyweed. And so Harry takes the gillyweed and is able to dive into the water, where as per usual, he is able to get to the captives and decides to take it upon himself not only to rescue Ron, but also Gabrielle Delacour. As per usual, Fleur was unable to complete the second challenge.
Next to last. Flan have got past the Grandilos.
And extremely happily thanks Harry for saving her sister. Third task is now upon them, and because of his rule breaking during the first task, and because Percy has been much more strictly judging things, and also because Karkaroff's been manipulating the standings a little bit, Harry is no longer tied for first place, and is instead solidly in second place with Cedric having the lead. This means that Cedric is allowed to go into the maze first and is placed under the Imperious Curse by Mad-Eye Moody, where he then hides and doubles back, allowing Harry to pass him before taking down Crumb and Fleur. Now Harry, who's much farther along in the maze and much more removed than usual, does not hear Cedric attacking Crumb and Fleur, and thus to his disbelief is able to easily make his way to the center of the maze and reach the Triwizard Cup before anybody else. But, as per usual, when he touches the cup, he's instantly transported to the graveyard at Little Hangleton, where he's captured and forced to participate in the resurrection of Lord Voldemort.
I can touch you.
Now, the events in the graveyard play out as per usual, with Voldemort coming back using Harry's blood and fighting with Harry, sparking Priori Incantatem. But since nobody died at the graveyard, Cedric does not come out of the wand, and instead it's just Frank Bryce, Bertha Jorkins, and Harry's parents who attack Voldemort, allowing Harry to escape. Now, Harry has no dead body with him this time, and as such does not cause quite as much of an uproar, but still begins loudly proclaiming that Voldemort is back.
Voldemort's back!
Dumbledore is somewhat distracted, trying to deal with the fact that Cedric was found under the Imperius Curse, and that Krum and Fleur were found to be horribly attacked by him. And so Mad-Eye Moody is still given the opportunity to take Harry off to the side as per usual. But then the events play out pretty much the same, with Dumbledore catching on, capturing Mad-Eye Moody, and forcing him to reveal himself as Barty Crouch Jr. and tell the truth.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
Now, while the absence of Winky the House Elf and Barty Crouch Sr. leaves a couple of gaps in Barty Jr.'s story, he's still able to give a recounting of pretty much the same events. But as per usual, when Cornelius Fudge comes to interrogate Barty Jr., he brings a Dementor with him, who performs the Dementor's kiss before Dumbledore has a chance to intervene. And this time, Fudge is even more adamantly against believing Harry, believing that Harry is just a dangerous troublemaker at best and a dark wizard at worst. But alright, that's it for this second part of What If Voldemort Gave Bellatrix the Diary. The stage is now set, and in the next part we'll see what Voldemort does now that he's successfully returned and nobody knows about his Horcruxes. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notifications bell so you can see when the next part is uploaded. And be sure to comment down below what you thought of this video and what happened in this episode. If you want to see what happened if Barty Crouch Jr. didn't get the Dementor's kiss, you can click on this side of the screen. And if you want to see the truth behind the Elder Wand, you can click on this side of the screen. But you've only got 3 seconds because this video is about to end. Adios!